Are you feeling like you're finally getting a handle on your personal finances, but you're still finding yourself overwhelmed by all the moving pieces? Here's the truth. When you're first starting out, there's really only one key thing you need to focus on. In this video, I'm going to talk about what that is, why it's the key for your financial health, and how it sets the stage for everything else going forward. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly where to keep your focus and why this one habit matters more than everything else. Welcome to Refactor Your Money. I'm Max, an accredited financial counselor, here to help you break free from financial stress and start living the life you deserve. In this video, I thought I would just kind of free flow a little bit about what I consider the golden rule of personal finance, which is spend less than you earn. Now, I talk about this a lot in a lot of my videos about cash flow and such, and why really it is the key thing to keep in mind. If you're only going to focus on a single thing, it should always be to spend less than you earn. Now, when I'm explaining this to people, I often will, as I do in a lot of my videos and a lot of my explanations, use the analogy of personal health when discussing financial health. In the case of spending less than you earn, I like to think about cash flow almost as blood flowing through your body, right? So with our bodies, we'll breathe in air, which contains oxygen. Our lungs will take that in and they'll use that oxygen, put it in our bloodstream, and our hearts will pump that blood around our body. In our financial life, we sort of have a similar thing going on, right? We have our jobs. We may have other sources of income. Those generate money for us. That money enters our life through our income, and it's passed around or pumped around, kind of like blood flow through our body. It's pumped around our financial life, and it serves purposes, right? Blood in our body will be pumped to muscles. It'll be pumped to organs. It helps keep our muscles healthy. It helps keep our organs functioning. And it basically serves the purpose of keeping our health stable and our body stable and functional. Well, our money does a very similar thing. We pump it around our financial life. We'll use it to pay bills, right? It covers our housing costs. It covers our groceries. It might cover our daycare. All the essential expenses that we need to keep our lives running smoothly. Our money is pumped around our life and serves that need, just like blood is pumped around our body to keep our body healthy. The problem is that when you have like a cut or a wound of some sort on your body that results in a loss of blood, or maybe all the blood and oxygen is rushed to the spot to try to start helping with healing, right? If it's just a little cut or a little wound, it's really not that big of a deal, right? And debt is kind of like that. So we have our financial life, our income comes in, it's moving around our financial life, it's paying bills, it's serving its purpose. And then we have debt, right? And debt is a place that kind of sucks a lot of that cash flow away from our financial life, right? We're forced to divert it from maybe some other need to go satisfy this debt over here, the critical piece that needs to be satisfied before we can move on to other things, right? And just like with our bodies, if we start having lots of wounds or maybe one extremely deep gash or something that results in a lot of blood loss or a ton of energy having to be diverted for healing or for recovering from an illness perhaps, right? Our body now has to divert those resources and it's put under strain. We suffer enough wounds, we get sick enough, right? We start being under threat for things like cardiac arrest or death at worst, right? Similar with our financial life. The money's moving through our life. If it's just a little bit of debt, we've got a sort of a healthy amount of debt, nothing too dangerous, nothing too problematic. It's really not a particularly big deal, right? We can sort of funnel that money over here. We can have a plan for it. It goes over there. It meets that need. Eventually that wound heals, right? The debt's paid down. Not a huge deal. That money can then be rediverted back to keeping us healthy, right? We can go back to strengthening our muscles or improving our endurance, right? That extra cash flow or the extra blood flow can be used for a positive purpose, like saving or investing, right? Just like strength training or endurance training, right? So it's building our health over time, improving our future health. I often like to liken cash flow as so important because it's what allows us to heal wounds that might pop up and also to improve ourselves in the long term, improve our long-term health, much like blood flow and oxygen and food in a lot of ways does for our body, right? So ultimately, if you have positive cash flow, you're getting plenty of resources in, you're minimizing the amount of wounds or cuts or gashes or whatever, or illnesses to your financial life, all is good, right? So all you got to focus on, keep that cash flow positive. When you have positive cash flow, you've got that buffer to keep yourself healthy and to continue to invest for the future. Now, I find this particularly useful for me, and this was useful for me when I was starting to get serious about my own finances and I started my own financial improvement journey back in 2018, because I'm 39 now, I'm midlife, and I've got a young family, as I've said in past videos. I've got a wife, I've got 2 young kids. My wife and I both work full time. We're under a lot of stress and strain for our time. We're under a lot of stress and strain for our energy. And we're under a lot of stress and strain in our health, right? Once you start approaching 40, for me, it was maybe in the last couple of years, my mid to late 30s, I've started just to notice a few things changing with my body, and maybe I'm not healing from an ankle sprain as quickly. Maybe my eyesight isn't quite as good as it was, right? It's really minimal, but it's kind of the start. And it's just reinforced for me that midlife is really a critical time to keep my focus on my health, right? I want to be able to be around for my wife and kids for the long haul. In my 20s, maybe I was able to be a little bit more lax. I could push things a little more. I could heal really quick, right? So I could be a little bit more free and loose, fast and loose with my body. Well, now that I'm in my midlife, I'm approaching 40, time has kind of come to tighten that up, right? Get a little bit more serious, a little bit more conscientious about my health, eat better, make sure I'm sticking to my workout routine, and make sure I'm really keeping on top of my health so I can be here for the long haul. Super similar with, again, financial health, right? Once you approach midlife, maybe in your 20s, you made some financial mistakes. I know I did. I'll talk about some of those in future videos, but when you're in your 20s, you can sort of afford to take a few risks with your money, right? You've got a really, really long time horizon to recover. You may not be planning for retirement, likely aren't planning for retirement for another 30, 40 years when you're in your 20s, right? You feel like you got all kinds of time to make some mistakes. You can take on some debt, right? You can bang your body up a little bit. No big deal. You got time to recover. Well, once you reach your late 30s, 40s, 50s, right, it's time to be serious. It's time to start buttoning that stuff up if you haven't already. Because you do want your financial life to be healthy for the long haul, right? You need to be planning for retirement. You need to be setting money aside for your future self, planning for that tomorrow that you have envisioned in your mind, right? All these dreams and goals you have. You want to be able to live the life that you've planned for and that you deserve, right? And so you're going to need money for that. You're going to need to be getting serious about tightening all that up. So I just like to sort of freewheel and just kind of stream of consciousness a little bit about the analogy between personal physical health and personal financial health. I think as I explore this topic, as I work with clients, as I experience it myself, there are just so many parallels between those two things. So you will probably find me in future videos also continuing to make those parallels. But I really do like to use that analogy just to reinforce, again, the one critical thing to keep in mind is always keep that cash flow positive. If you're spending less than you earn and you're living within your means, you can afford to have a couple hangups here. You can have a cut, you can get sick, right? You can recover from that. And you also have the ability, when you're fully healthy, you got no cuts, you're fully healed, you're perfect, you're no illnesses, right? You're up and running at 100%. Now you can be using that energy to get stronger, strengthen your financial life, start committing for the long term, save, invest, be ready for emergencies. So when you do get sick, your immune system's firing on all cylinders, right? You're ready, you're good to go, and you got your plan for the long haul. You will be healthy for the long term. So last time I'm going to say it, number one golden rule of personal finance, just like it is for your personal health, you got to spend less than you earn, right? You got to keep your body healthy. You got to be taking it. You got to be eating right. You got to be breathing effectively. You got to be taking in that oxygen, eating healthy foods, giving your body energy to be able to sustain for the long haul. So if you do nothing else, focus on that. Spend less than you earn. It's the beating heart of your financial life. So if you're wondering what the state of your own financial health might be, here are a few actionable steps you can take to get started measuring that. First, create a net worth statement, right? Talked about that a few videos back, the value of a net worth statement. It's like stepping on the scale, right, for your personal health. You get yourself a number, a baseline number of where your starting point is. Next, create a cash flow statement, right? This whole video is all about cash flow. It's all about how the analogy between your cash flow and your health, right? It's eating healthy. It's taking good solid breaths of oxygen. Your cash flow is the fuel for your financial rocket. It is the food and the nutrition for your financial life. You want to keep that strong and healthy. Complete a cash flow statement. And lastly, if you want to do a full-scale checkup on your body, think about this like going to the doctor for a checkup. They're going to draw some blood. They're going to do a bunch of lab work on it. You're going to get some numbers, right? Take a look through. So once you've completed your net worth statement, you've completed a cash flow statement, take a look at all the financial ratios that I ran through in this other video. There's 7 ratios there that'll give you an even deeper measurement of your full holistic financial health, much like you would do, again, with blood work for your physical health. Gives you a great idea across the gamut of where you're at. So 3 actionable steps you can take. And then lastly, if you want a little bit extra boost or you want a little bit extra assist, personal assist with your own finances, I've got a link down below in the description where you can schedule a call with me. It's a 50-minute focused coaching session. Me and you, accredited financial counselor, and you sitting down with your specifics. We'll go through where you're at, talk about your goals, happy to help get you on track and start getting you moving forward. I've also got a couple of resources down below if you'd like to use those. One is my personal financial tracking template. It's the one I've discussed in the previous videos about net worth and cash flow. It's free for you. Go ahead and click the link below to get a copy of it and start using it for yourself. And then I also have a 30-day money refactor guide, which is just a step-by-step month-long guide that helps you gain a little bit of clarity about where you stand, an idea of where you might want to go from here, and really just gets you started on your own personal financial refactor journey. And then finally, before I let you go, I would really appreciate it if you would comment down below with any sort of struggles you're facing financially, any sort of obstacles or questions. I love hearing all that stuff. I've got ideas for my own videos going forward, but really I want this channel to be about you. And so I want to know what you're struggling with, what can I help you with, and what questions can I answer that aren't just my own ideas of what I like. So please do that below, and then finally like and subscribe. This is a small channel. I just started it. I'm trying to grow it a little bit here, and any amount of support helps. So give it a like and subscribe, and I hope I'll see you in a future video. Thanks. Bye-bye.